Welcome to some quick notes concerning the new update of CrusherX. It's version 8.55 now. It's free for owners of version 8. So, let me start with something small but really helpful, the new clear button in the grain buffer window. The clear function is a very helpful thing if you are dealing with longer grain structures and you want to tweak your settings, but you have to wait until the buffer is empty. That can be a really nerve-wracking experience, especially when you are in a fast-developing creative process. But clicking the clear button empties the grain buffer at once, and we can continue tweaking right from the beginning of the recorded stream. The next thing to mention is the new DCO file editor sample player. By clicking on the button called File in the DCO window, the DCO Sample Player window opens and closes. Here you can choose from a couple of factory samples or choose a sample from your own sample collections. The Play Stop button starts and stops the playback, and the adjustable blue flags determine which part of the loaded sample is played back, the common sample start and sample end flags. Please notice that shifting the flags in the sample window and changing the start and end points with the CrusherX typical wheel correspond to each other. It's more than nice that I can link both flags to an external MIDI controller. Accuracy. Accuracy. Well, we all have at least slightly different approaches to granular sound processing, and we all use CrusherX for doing different things, I think. For me personally, it's the next new feature of this version 8.55 which I appreciate most. The third decimal in the grain modulation frequency edit field. I tend to not working intuitively that much, but use to compose a sound or an effect or a sonic development very precisely before I reach for the instrument. And having such a precision at hand, such an accurate way to determine the time relations of all frequency-dependent parameters is huge, a very huge progress and easement of working for me. Well, it may not be that important for you, though. All right, let's lead our attention to the MIDI and keyboard panel now. There we find a sustain button next to the keyboard. Let me demonstrate it. I have started the sequencer of my DAW and hit some keys on the keyboard. As soon as I release a key, the sound stops, of course. But with sustain on, the sound plays on and on. Please bear in mind that the free mode has to be switched off and the MIDI mode must not be unpitched to make this functionality work. The sustain function can be linked to an external sustain pedal or to any other external MIDI controller. Another nice feature to speed up our workflow is the new function renaming after exporting, which brings some more ease to the process of creating a series of versions of a certain patch. Last thing to talk about today concerns the MIDI and keyboard section again, free and A and R. With free on, there is always sound, given that there is something in the buffer with delay modulation, or there is live sound coming into CrusherX, for example, from my DAW, of course. With free off, the generators work only if there is a key on the keyboard pressed, given that the MIDI mode is not unpitched. We met this functionality some minutes ago without speaking about it when we talked about sustain. And A&R, well, it stands for attack and release, meaning if switched on, the volume of the generators, the grains, depend on attack and release times, whereas with switched off, as it is by default, the volume of the generators, the grains, will be always at 100%. Well, let that be enough for today. There are a lot of minor but nice changes and even some bug fixes in the new version 8.55. Not to forget a bunch of new presets. Please visit Xzone's website for a whole list of them. But I think I've shown you the most important news concerning version 8.55 now. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your day. Rolf.